The story of Prince Andrew has once again exploded into the public eye. Just when it seemed the dust had settled, new revelations have reignited one of the most damaging royal scandals in modern history. This time, it's not another TV interview or another lawsuit. It's the posthumous memoir of Virginia Giuffre, the woman whose allegations changed the course of Prince Andrew's life forever. Prince Andrew stepped down from royal duties back in 2019 after that disastrous BBC Newsnight interview. An interview meant to clear his name, but instead it became a defining moment of public downfall. It was the BBC Newsnight interview with Emily Maitlis, broadcast in November 2019, where Prince Andrew tried to defend his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. During that interview, he famously claimed, "I don't sweat, or I didn't at the time," as part of his attempt to dispute Virginia Giuffre's account of him sweating profusely during their alleged encounter.
She was very specific about that night. She described dancing with you and you profusely sweating, and that she went on to have possibly.
There's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time, and that was I didn't sweat at the time because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at. And I simply, it was almost impossible for me to sweat.
Yet now, years later, he has gone a step further, agreeing to relinquish the titles and honours that once defined his royal standing. So why now? Why is this all happening again? Virginia Giuffre's memoir has become the centre of attention. Even after her passing earlier this year, the publication of her story has sent shockwaves through the palace. Those close to the royal household reportedly expected this moment. They knew the memoir would reveal new details not only about Giuffre's own life, but also about her alleged encounters with Prince Andrew, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell. Giuffre's words are harrowing. In one striking passage, she reportedly claims the prince acted as though being with her was his birthright. Andrew has always denied the allegations, maintaining he never met her, a claim that stands in stark contrast to the infamous photograph that has haunted him for years. If that wasn't enough, leaked correspondence has surfaced suggesting that Prince Andrew continued to communicate with Jeffrey Epstein even after Epstein's conviction for sex trafficking. One particularly damning message reportedly showed Andrew writing to Epstein saying, "We are in this together," months after claiming publicly that he had severed all ties. The Mail on Sunday reports that the email shows definitive proof that the Duke lied in his infamous BBC Newsnight interview, in which he claimed he never had any contact with Epstein after the pair was snapped walking together in New York's Central Park in 2010. The email was sent 12 weeks after Andrew was said to cut contact with Epstein, who was later found dead in his cell at a federal jail in Manhattan in August 2019 while he awaited trial. It's these contradictions that continue to erode public trust. And as one commentator put it, if you're still associating with Jeffrey Epstein after his conviction, you belong in the outer darkness. The image of a senior royal exchanging emails with a convicted trafficker after the fact, that's not just scandalous, it's catastrophic for the institution of monarchy. The damage isn't just reputational, it's constitutional. Historically, the British monarchy has endured countless storms, from abdications to divorces, yet it has always managed to survive. But the data now tells a different story. Support for the monarchy has been in decline over the past decade, with the most recent BSA data revealing around half, 51% of people in Britain, think that it is very important or quite important for Britain to continue to have a monarchy. This is the lowest figure we have recorded to date, and compares with over 4 out of 5, 86% of people, who said continuing to have a monarchy was important when the question was first asked in 1983. While the proportion of people who think it is important for Britain to continue having a monarchy has declined, the proportion of those who think otherwise has steadily climbed. In 1983, 1 in 10% held the view that it is not very or not at all important for Britain to continue having a monarchy. This has risen to around 3 in 10, 31% in 2024. At the same time, the proportion who think that the monarchy should be abolished entirely has increased. While this is still a minority view, support for abolition since 1983 has increased by approximately 12 points, from 3% to 15% in 2024. Some commentators have described the Prince Andrew saga as the greatest scandal to face the monarchy since the abdication crisis. However, others argue that the death of Princess Diana represented a far greater challenge to the royal family. At that time, relentless tabloid pressure and widespread public anger forced the Queen to return from Balmoral, with polls showing a sharp rise in anti-monarchy sentiment. By contrast, the current situation feels different. There is no comparable surge in support for a republic, although the seriousness of the allegations surrounding Prince Andrew and his continued denials could still influence public opinion over time. While surveys do suggest a gradual decline in confidence in the monarchy, this is not yet translated into a significant movement towards republicanism. It's not an immediate threat to the monarchy's survival, but the trend is unmistakable. Each scandal leaves a mark, especially on younger generations who increasingly question the relevance of inherited privilege in the 21st century. Even among royal supporters, the same question keeps coming up. Why does Prince Andrew still hold a dukedom? After all, he has not been formally stripped of his title. Instead, he has merely agreed not to use it. But that's a voluntary act, not a legal one. Under British law, only Parliament has the authority to remove a peerage, something that hasn't happened in over a century. In fact, Labour MP Rachel Maskell has called for exactly that, an act of Parliament to formally revoke Andrew's titles.
Well, we know at the moment, whilst the Duke of York can lay aside his title, he still holds his title. And I brought forward private members' legislation in the past in order to see titles removed, not just around this case, but it would be for all cases. A very simple amendment could be made to a constitutional bill, or a private member's bill could come forward to rotate this.
Historically, this kind of measure has been reserved for extreme cases such as nobles who sided with enemy powers or committed acts of treason. The last time it was even considered was during Winston Churchill's era. So the question is, will Parliament act, or will this be left to the royal family to handle quietly behind palace doors? Even for those who don't follow royal gossip, there's another angle that concerns everyone: taxpayers' money. Prince Andrew continues to live in the Royal Lodge, a 30-room mansion on the Windsor estate. He holds a 75-year lease on the property, but where the funds for that lease and its upkeep come from remains murky. Reports suggest that the King no longer funds Andrew's security or personal expenses, yet estimates place his security costs alone in the millions per year. Without official financial disclosure laws applying to the royals, the public is left guessing. Did the late Queen privately fund him? Are private arrangements still in place? No one really knows. It's a transparency issue that goes far beyond Andrew. It speaks to the monarchy's broader culture of secrecy, a system where public accountability is limited even when public funds are involved. Then there's the question of influence. Even when the Newsnight interview detonated his public image, insiders say Andrew continued to rely on loyal staff and courtiers who enabled him, some allegedly helping him gather information on Virginia Giuffre using official channels. According to the Mail on Sunday, Prince Andrew asked his police protection officer to investigate her just before the newspaper published a photo of Miss Giuffre's first meeting with the prince in February 2011. The paper alleged that he gave the officer her date of birth and confidential social security number. Sunday Telegraph also claimed that Prince Andrew sought to dig up dirt on Miss Giuffre. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband, speaking on BBC One's Sunday with Laura Kuenssberg, called it deeply concerning, adding that if true, it's absolutely not the way that close protection officers should be used. According to reports, Andrew even instructed his police protection officer to access Giuffre's personal data, her date of birth and social security number, to dig up dirt before one of her photos with him was published. If true, that would mean a royal using taxpayer-funded protection officers for personal vendettas. At this point, it's not just about moral failings, it's about potential abuse of public resources. All of this is playing out while King Charles prepares for a historic meeting with the Pope, the first time a British monarch will pray with the pontiff since before the Reformation. The symbolism is powerful, but the timing couldn't be worse. For a monarchy trying to project unity and moral integrity, the continued presence of Andrew as a royal liability threatens to overshadow every gesture of goodwill. Every photo op, every diplomatic visit risks being clouded by the question, what are they doing about Andrew? And then there's the speculation about Prince William. Multiple reports suggest that the Prince of Wales played a role in persuading his uncle to give up his titles, a symbolic move to protect the institution's image. Whether that's true or not, it reinforces the growing sense that the next generation of royals is being forced to clean up the past. As one commentator quipped, the first 100 people you meet on the street would probably make better councillors of state than Prince Andrew. It's a harsh statement, but it captures a growing public mood, frustration with institutions that seem detached from justice and common sense. The future of Prince Andrew remains uncertain. His name, his titles, and his role are all in limbo. The book's full release will likely trigger another wave of media coverage and political debate. Lawmakers could push for legal mechanisms to strip his honours. Campaigners could demand transparency around royal finances. And the monarchy, already facing questions about relevance, could find itself navigating one of its most fragile moments in decades. For King Charles and Prince William, this is a test of leadership. Can they modernise the monarchy while maintaining its mystique? Or will scandals like this one finally erode the public's patience for good? This story isn't just about one man's disgrace. It's about power, how it's used, abused, and protected. And as the British public continues to watch, one truth remains clear. Titles and traditions mean little when trust is gone. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more from Eureka.